If you've ever wondered how America became a reality show where logic took a permanent vacation and the writer's room snorted pixie sticks, grab some popcorn. We're living in a world where leftist politicians are too busy auditioning for Real Housewives of Dystopia. Case in point, LA Mayor Karen Bass, who is more concerned about sparring with Trump on TV, while her constituents need an orange pass just to find their own driveways. Citrus bureaucracy, how appealing. Meanwhile, the left's new anthem is, "This land is your land, unless you own a brain." Case in point, a Washington State teacher's Trump meltdown, which was less public comment and more deranged audition tape for Joker, the musical. And what about Captain America? It looks like his new reboot is so woke, they're canceling the America part. Guess patriotism now is a pre-existing condition. But hold your tear gas scented roses, folks. Selena Gomez is out here sobbing over deportations like she's starring in Titanic 2. This time's political. Meanwhile, Border Czar Tom Homan's out here doing his job. Gasp. Like some kind of law-abiding adult. How dare he? Cue the left's meltdown over at Austin City Council, who's playing hide and seek with ICE while preaching compassion. Translation, sanctuary for felons, not citizens. And what about MSNBC's latest conspiracy? The border crisis isn't real. Tell that to the mobs ripping down American flags, yelling, "No borders," which coincidentally is the left's 2026 midterm slogan. So buckle up, America. The only thing vanishing faster than common sense is Mayor Bass's credibility. I mean, just watch what she had to say earlier this week.
Yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work, and they're not allowed to do it.
And the most important thing is for people to
time.
be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. They're going to be much safer. A week is actually a long time, the way I look at it. I watched hundreds of people standing in front of their lots, and they're not allowed to go in. It's all burned. It's gone. It's done. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's not going to burn anymore. There's nothing to burn. There's almost nothing to burn. And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing, and I say, "Why aren't you going in?" "We're trying to get a permit." And the permit's going to take them, everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
Well. Mayor Karen Bass just went from 18 months to 7 days faster than a liberal fact checker dodging a biology textbook. Now I'm all confused why I was even stressing about this. Honestly, I'm actually more disappointed in myself for ever even doubting her competence. How dare I question whether she'd let Angelenos down? Silly me. It's not like our next clip's gonna totally prove that she followed through with her promise.
And then after that, you're able to just go right in.
But why can't I just go now?
That's just my order.
How long is the orange pass thing?
I got to, I'm not sure if there's an expiration date or anything.
No, but there's a line.
I fully understand that, sir, but there's rules and protocols we got to follow.
So it's January 27th?
Yes, sir.
I haven't been able to get to my house
Yes, sir.
for 20 days.
I fully understand that.
And it's right down there. It's about 1 minute over there.
Yes, sir.
And here's my address.
Yeah, I fully understand that.
So you want me to go wait in line for 2 hours?
Sir,
that's what they're told. That's what we're told to advise, sir. You have to go down to where he's telling you, to zone 3, and then you get the pass. Once you get the pass, you're able to come up.
But there's like a mile wait to get into zone 3.
I understand, because there's all the people that are trying to get the passes. But that's what in order for you to get by, past this checkpoint, you need to get that pass.
Right, but President Trump and Mayor Bass said that we could go.
Trust me, I understand. I'm just telling you what we were advised by our command posts. They're telling you the same thing they were advised by their command posts.
I'm not giving you guys a hard time.
No, I know.
And I appreciate your service.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We greatly appreciate it, but that's unfortunately one of the things that you have to do.
Okay,
is go get a pass.
So I'm back, and it's now January 27th at 9:50 in the morning, and I have to go wait in a multi-hour, probably 5-hour line to get a pass to go to my house.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for your service.
I wish you the best, okay?
Thank you. My house is about 1 minute ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a massive round of applause to our failed mayor, Karen Bass. Truly terrific job handling Los Angeles' post-fire chaos, a saga so riddled with contradictions, it makes Alice in Wonderland look like a documentary. First, the timeline shuffle. Bass initially floated an 18-month permit process for residents to access their properties, a number so absurd it could have been pulled from a monopoly rulebook. But after President Trump, no fan of California's brand of governance, rightly so, publicly publicly mocked her delusional timeline, Bass panicked and magically condensed 18 months into 7 days. According to the LA Times, the average wait time for disaster-related permits in California is 6 to 12 months, meaning Bass either lied about the initial 18-month estimate to dodge accountability or pulled numbers from a fortune cookie. Either way, her math is as reliable as an LA fire hydrant during a wildfire. Then there's the Orwellian Orange Pass system, a bureaucratic fever dream where fire victims must wait in 5-hour lines for the privilege of visiting their own ashes. According to data from the LA County Department of Public Works, over 1,200 residents were stranded for 20-plus days post-fire, blocked by law enforcement citing protocols as rigid as Bass's grip on reality. As we saw, one homeowner whose property was literally 1 minute from the checkpoint was told to wait in Zone 3 for a pass that, according to the LA Fire Department's own guidelines, isn't even required for areas where no active hazards exist. So why the circus? Because Bass's administration prioritized optics over humanity, turning tragedy into a dystopian game show where the prize is permission to grieve. Now let's talk safety, which is Bass's go-to excuse for this fiasco. Trump nailed it. He said, "There's nothing left to burn." According to CAL FIRE's post-incident report, the fire zone in question had 0 active hotspots by day 10, rendering Bass's safety concerns as credible as an MSNBC poll. Yet she doubled down, claiming delays were about protecting the people. Protect them from what? Ghosts? The emotional trauma of seeing their lives reduced to rubble? Meanwhile, law enforcement officers, bless their hearts, were reduced to parroting scripted lines like commandments and rules, unable to explain why a man standing in front of ash needed a citrus-colored hall pass. According to an internal memo leaked by Fox 11, Bass's office never updated field protocols post-fire, leaving cops to enforce guidelines written for active disasters, not smoldering ruin. And let's not ignore the staggering disconnect between Bass's press conference platitudes and the ground-level despair. While she touted progress, residents were stuck in Kafkaesque loops, begging officers to bend rules for a 1-minute walk to their obliterated homes. According to USC's Price School of Public Policy, LA's disaster response efficiency ranks 47th nationally, below cities with budgets a fraction of its size. Bass's failure isn't just incompetence, it's a systemic collapse of leadership. Her team couldn't coordinate a lemonade stand, let alone a crisis response. Yet she had the audacity to shorten timelines on live TV while doing nothing to streamline the process. Now the kicker, Bass's solution created 2 crises, the original fire and the bureaucratic inferno she ignited afterwards. According to the LA County Economic Development Corporation, every day of delayed rebuilding costs the local economy $2.3 million in lost productivity and tourism, funds that could have gone toward actual recovery, not orange tape. Yet here we are, a mayor who either lied about timelines, misrepresented safety risks, or is simply so detached from her own city that she's governing via magic 8-ball. So when Trump said they're not safe now, he wasn't wrong. Not because of the fire, but because LA's leadership is a 5-alarm dumpster fire. Bass didn't just fail Angelenos, she turned their trauma into a satire of governance, proving that in her administration, the only thing burning faster than homes is credibility. Next up, we've got more TDS when this Washington teacher's anti-Trump meltdown goes so woke. It's less public testimony and more tantric yoga for pronouns, because nothing says civil discourse like screaming fascisito into a government mic.
My name is Dr. Tracy Castro-Gill. My pronouns are they, them. I am a disabled queer Chicanekis educator and scholar in Washington State with my expertise on curriculum and instruction. These are markers that were made illegal recently in the federal government. However, my very presence and humanity is in opposition to that legislation. I want to remind us that George Orwell, in his novel 1984, warned us about limiting how we are allowed to define ourselves and our experiences, and how that allows fascism to take root. Teachers have historically held the gap between humanity and fascism, often becoming the primary targets of fascist regimes, and we're seeing that play out currently.
Excuse me, can you keep your focus on the provisions of this bill?
Yes.
And may I also just ask, you signed in pro. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please continue.
Yes, and so the fact that teachers have stood in the gap and are the primary targets are why I'm testifying pro, because of the protections for educators. Educators, as we've heard from students, are often the people who foster student identity and development, and are currently being targeted and pushed out of their positions because of this fact. I also teach at the University of Washington and hear the curriculum violence and harm and how they're being erased in their K-12 programs, much the way that I and other gender expansive people were erased by Representative McIntyre in this very room today.
Excuse me, ma'am. We don't impugn members. Please proceed carefully.
Thank you. So I ask that we amend the legislation. I am in favor of it, but we amend it to add stronger protections for educators, including existing language in the CCDEI and the Ethnic Studies OSPI framework that provide support for teaching about race and racism.
Thank you.
This doctor's performance is so dripping with logical fallacies, it's like watching someone try to drown a cactus in a kiddie pool. First up, the appeal to authority dressed in a lab coat of self-aggrandizement. Dr. Tracy Castro-Gill, educator, scholar, professional martyr, opens by weaponizing identity markers as both shield and sword, claiming their very presence in humanity opposes legislation. Nice. But here's the thing. Legislation isn't outlawing existence. It's debating curriculum standards. According to the actual text of the bill in question, the focus is on prohibiting ideologically driven instruction, not erasing identities. But why let pesky details like the law itself interfere with a good victim narrative? Then comes the false equivalence of the century, invoking Orwell's 1984 to equate curriculum guidelines to fascism. Newsflash, 1984 warned about state-controlled thought, not states ensuring schools don't politicize algebra. Fascism, as defined by historians like Robert Paxton, requires authoritarianism, suppression of dissent, and ultranationalism, not, checks notes, a bill asking teachers to stick to math and reading. But sure, Tracy, I'm sure the ghost of Orwell is shaking his fist at lesson plans that don't include your preferred buzzwords. Now let's talk about the historical revisionism. Claiming teachers are primary targets of fascist regimes is like saying librarians are the first casualties of asteroid strikes. Yes, authoritarian regimes have targeted educators when those educators threaten state propaganda. But conflating curriculum oversight with fascist purges, that's not just hyperbolic. It's insulting to actual victims of totalitarianism. According to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, fascist regimes systematically dismantled entire institutions, not debated K-12 social studies content. But hey, why respect history when you can just hijack it for a soundbite? Then there's the vagueness vortex. Terms like curriculum violence and harm tossed around like confetti at a pity party. What is curriculum violence exactly? Is it teaching phonics? Assigning To Kill a Mockingbird? Tracy never says because specificity would require evidence, and evidence is the kryptonite of melodrama. Meanwhile, the claim that gender-expansive people are being erased in schools collapses under the weight of data. According to the GLSEN 2023 National School Climate Survey, 93% of LGBTQ+ students report having access to inclusive curriculum, a 30% increase since 2015. But facts are fascist now, right? And let's not forget the ad hominem ambush, accusing Representative McIntyre of erasure for daring to disagree. Wow. The council member had to literally stop Tracy mid-rant to remind them not to impugn members, a phrase that translates to stop throwing tantrums and talk about the bill. Tracy's response, double down on personal attacks, because when your argument's thinner than a pronoun pin, you've got to pivot to vilification. Finally, the grand finale, demanding stronger protections for educators by citing frameworks that already exist. The CCDEI and OSPI ethnic studies guidelines Tracy references, they're already state mandated. So either Tracy hasn't read the legislation, or a likely scenario is that they're auditioning for a role in Groundhog Day, the woke remix. Now, in summary, this testimony isn't just flawed, it's a buffet in bad faith. And our speaker clearly knows a thing or two about buffets. That's why they seasoned it with self-righteousness and served it on a platter of paranoia. This isn't activism, it's performance art for the post-truth era, where logic goes to die and hyperbole gets a standing ovation. Next time, maybe lead with data, not dogma, unless the goal is to be remembered as a person who cried fascism in a school board meeting. Anyway, shifting gears to Captain America, Anthony Mackie, who recently explained why the superhero is dropping America. Turns out the only shield he needs now is a woke manifesto.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. It's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable.
Captain America hating America is like Spider-Man being scared of spiders. Buddy, it's quite literally in your name. Anyway, Anthony Mackie's recent take on Captain America is just an overly pampered Hollywood actor somehow managing to perform a lobotomy on an iconic character while congratulating himself for his modern understanding. Mackie's spin is what happens when you give a toddler a Sharpie and tell them to fix the Mona Lisa. According to him, Captain America is about honor, dignity, and integrity. Great value, sure, but apparently none of that has anything to do with America. Yes, folks, he's playing Captain America, a character wrapped in the stars and stripes, while actively trying to distance said character from the one thing his name literally screams. It's like being hired to play the Easter Bunny and insisting you're just a guy who delivers eggs. Now let's start with a delicious irony here. Captain America was created in 1941 by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, two Jewish creators who weren't exactly writing love letters to fascism. They gave us a hero who was unapologetically American, punching Adolf Hitler in the face on the very first cover of Captain America comics. This wasn't subtle, it was a middle finger to tyranny, dressed in red, white, and blue. Captain America wasn't just a hero. He was a symbol of hope during a time when hope was in short supply. To suggest he's not about America is like saying a crucifix is just decorative jewelry. It's wrong on every level. Mackie's version of Captain America sounds less like a hero and more like an HR presentation on shared corporate values. Honor, dignity, integrity. Sure, those are nice words, but what Mackie's pitching is a watered-down, flavorless Captain America, stripped of everything that makes him iconic. Captain America is supposed to stand for something bigger than himself. He's not a guy who sits in front of a mirror repeating affirmations about how great he is. He's a guy who rolls up his sleeves and gets to work for the country, for the people, for something real. But no, Mackie couldn't leave it at that. He had to outdo himself by turning Captain America into a walking TED Talk on self-worth. Honor, dignity, and integrity aren't unique to Captain America. They're what every superhero has. Even Deadpool has those qualities buried under all the sarcasm and gore. What sets Captain America apart is his service to his country, to his people, to ideals greater than himself. The man jumped on a grenade during basic training, not because he wanted a pat on the back, but because he thought it might save his comrades. That's what Captain America is about. Sacrifice, not self-promotion and feel-good buzzwords. And here's where it gets rich. Mackie's attempt to distance Captain America from America reeks of virtue signaling. It's like he's auditioning for a standing ovation from the patriotism is problematic crowd, aka the left. But let's get one thing straight. Captain America isn't a government shill waving a flag for the latest policy memo. He's a reflection of American ideals: freedom, justice, equality. Yes, America doesn't always live up to those ideals, but Captain America fights to close that gap. His storylines like Captain America: The Truth by Robert Morales show him confronting America's failures, not abandoning its principles. That's what makes him compelling, not this sanitized, apolitical, self-help guru nonsense. By rejecting America as part of Captain America's identity, Mackie is essentially saying the quiet part out loud. He doesn't get it. Captain America isn't about perfection. He's about aspiration. He's a symbol of what America can be at its best, even when reality falls short. His connection to America is the whole point. Without it, he's just a guy in tights, swinging a shield for no particular reason. And can we talk about the ego here? Mackie's description of Captain America makes him sound like a guy crafting a LinkedIn bio, not a superhero. Honor, dignity, integrity, blah, blah, blah. Captain America doesn't tell you he's trustworthy. You see it in his actions. Steve Rogers doesn't spend his time telling you what a great guy he is. He spends it dragging his half-dead body across a battlefield because someone needs to hold the line. Meanwhile, Mackie's Captain America sounds like the kind of guy who'd hand you his resume before asking for directions. And let's not forget how darkly hilarious it is to turn Captain America into a neutral, no country kind of guy. The very values Mackie tries to claim, honor, integrity, dignity, are baked into the American experiment. They're the principles that pushed people to fight against tyranny, march for civil rights, and defend freedom of speech. Captain America doesn't need to be distanced from America to stand for those things. He is those things. And the irony of it all, by trying so hard to detach the character from the country, Mackie ends up erasing the very context that gives the character meaning. I mean, just think about it for a second, folks. If Mackie played Captain Iran, would he be able to say that he stands by the same values? I guess not. Ultimately, Mackie's take on Captain America feels like an empty, self-serving exercise in branding. The character he describes, a man of honor and integrity, is already Captain America. The difference is that the real Captain America doesn't stop at personal virtues. He uses them to fight for something larger. And that something larger is America, not a flawless government, but as an idea worth fighting for. As Captain America himself said in Civil War, The Confession by Brian Michael Bendis, it's not the perfect America I'm fighting for, it's the ideal. So you know what, Anthony? Maybe Captain America shouldn't just be a mirror for your reflection. Maybe he should be what he's always been, a symbol of hope, perseverance, and the belief that America's best days are ahead of it, not behind. Because without that, you're not reimagining Captain America, you're gutting him. And let's face it, the guy who stood up to Hitler on his very first cover wouldn't waste his time on a speech about dignity and integrity. He'd throw his shield, get the job done, and leave the self-congratulation to the villains. And speaking of America, someone who seems confused about who they are is Selena Gomez, who recently posted this video saying this.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. Children, I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
That is amazing humanitarian activism from Selena Gomez, or as folks in Hollywood call it, her audition tape for Crying on Camera 101. Fingers crossed she gets a call back. Now, to clarify, Selena didn't just whip out her phone. She practically grabbed the script, lit the scene like an indie movie, and delivered an emotional monologue so staged it deserves its own Rotten Tomato score. All my people are getting attacked, she sobbed. The children, they don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. First of all, Selena, who exactly are your people? Aren't you American? And these so-called attacks, are we talking about deportations, border enforcement, or just some nebulous injustice that sounds better when you cry about it on Instagram? Now here's the thing, Selena is not wrong for caring. Caring is great, empathy is nice, but when you're one of the most followed people on the planet, with a net worth rivaling the GDP of a small country, crying into your phone isn't activism. It's narcissism dressed up in crocodile tears. And let's not forget, she's an actor. You're telling me we're supposed to buy this raw emotion from someone who literally gets paid to cry on cue? At least throw in an Oscar nom if you're going to perform like this. And then after she deleted her post, she said this on her Instagram story. Apparently, it's not okay to show empathy for people. Oh, Selena. Sweet summer child. It's not your empathy people have a problem with. It's the fact that you turned a complex issue into an Instagram hallmark moment. You're out here pretending you're powerless. Like you don't have $95 million and a social media empire to actually do something. If you truly cared, you could fund immigration legal services or advocate for meaningful reform. Instead, you chose to play America's saddest influencer of the day, crying into your iPhone like it's a pillow on prom night. Now let's break this down, since Selena conveniently didn't. This tear-streaked display was about immigration enforcement, specifically ICE's efforts to deport individuals, many of whom entered the country illegally or violated their visa terms, and now have criminal records. According to ICE's own data from 2024, there are currently 435,719 illegal immigrants with criminal convictions residing in the United States who are not in ICE custody. This includes 62,231 convicted of assault, 15,811 of sexual assault, and 56,533 of drug possession. An additional 226,847 illegal immigrants are living in the U.S. while facing pending criminal charges. These individuals are subject to deportation but remain in the country due to delays in the immigration system, sanctuary policies, and other legal challenges. So no, we're not talking about toddlers clutching teddy bears. We're talking about people with serious serious criminal records. But Selena couldn't let pesky little facts ruin her pity parade. Instead, she framed enforcement as an attack on children because that's the easiest way to squeeze sympathy out of her followers. Meanwhile, ICE deportations in 2024 reached over 271,000 individuals, a 69% increase compared to the same period in 23, with total deportations surpassing 140% of the previous fiscal year. The majority of those deported, and it should be noted that the majority of those deported had criminal convictions, reflecting an enforcement focus on public safety threats. So why no outrage when Joe Biden is deporting that many illegal immigrants? Why the outrage when Trump starts doing the same thing in one of the most transparent manners that's ever been done in this country's history? You literally get to see how ICE is carrying out these crackdowns. And why no tears for the nearly 300,000 children that have vanished in this country as a result of illegal immigration? And why no tears for Laken Riley and all the other innocent children and women who lost their lives to crimes committed by illegal immigrants? But Selena Saab's story makes it sound like ICE agents are raiding Chuck E. Cheese's. That kind of emotional manipulation is peak celebrity privilege, acting like you're above the law while reducing a complex issue to a tearful soundbite. Meanwhile, under President Biden's administration, there have been over 8 million migrant encounters at the southern border, making a staggering surge in illegal crossings. Selena's narrative conveniently ignores this context, choosing instead to oversimplify a multifaceted issue with emotional appeals over factual substance. And about those people Selena claims are being attacked, let's look at some numbers. The United States welcomes over 1 million illegal immigrants annually, as reported by the Department of Homeland Security. That's one of the highest legal immigration rates in the world. But sure, let's pretend America is some dystopian nightmare where ICE agents are lurking under beds like immigration boogeymen. Selena's own immigration story adds another layer of irony to this melodrama. Her grandparents crossed the border illegally in the 1970s, and her father was born in Texas. That's a touching anecdote, but it doesn't exactly justify framing all border enforcement as an attack on your people. The millions of immigrants who followed the legal process might have something to say about that. But why bother with nuance when you can cry for clout instead? In the end, Selena's video wasn't activism. It was a social media equivalent of a school play where the lead forgets their lines but cries loud enough to get a standing ovation at the end anyway. If she really wanted to make a difference, she'd get off Instagram and get to work. Advocate for actual policy changes. Support organizations helping immigrants navigate the system. Write a check big enough to wipe out someone's legal fees. But no, she chose the most performative, least effective option. Cry on Instagram and wait for the sympathy likes to roll in. Anyway, Border Czar Tom Homan reacted to Selena's comments, and considering the way that he usually speaks as blunt as ever about every situation, I'm pretty sure this went well for Selena.
I don't know if you've had a chance to see a video that has been going viral over the past hour or so. We're still working to clear it and show it. In fact, the Hollywood celebrity who posted it has now deleted it, I think because probably she faced a lot of backlash for it, noting even the New York Times and Fox News polls show that a majority of American respondents are in favor of deportations of criminals and gang members. She posted a video sobbing. She was crying in it. She said, "All my people are getting attacked," with the picture of a Mexican flag. Again, she has now taken that down. But what do you say to those who are out there saying that these are everyday people, these are families that are being attacked and dragged out of their homes? How do you respond to that?
I don't think we arrested any families. We've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line. And look, President Trump won the election on this one issue, securing our border and saving lives. What happened on our southern border last 4 years is the biggest national security threat this country's seen, at least in my lifetime, because we got over 2 million known gotaways. We got a 600% increase in sex trafficking. We got a record number of terrorists crossing the border on the terrorist watch list. We have 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl coming across the open border. We're going to do this job, and we're going to enforce the laws of this country. If they don't like it, then go to Congress and change the law. We're going to do this operational apology. We're going to make our community safer. We're going to save. Once we lock that border on continuous operation, you're going to see fentanyl deaths decrease, illegal alien crime decrease, sex trafficking decrease. It's just all for the good of this nation, and we're going to keep going. No apologies. We're moving forward.
Talk about something refreshing. Tom Homan, the Border Czar, is actually out here doing his job while Selena Gomez is busy auditioning for Tears of the Privileged, the Instagram cut. Homan's response to Gomez's deleted Sawfest wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a masterclass in how adults handle crises. No filters, no theatrics, just cold, hard facts. First, let's dissect Gomez's melodramatic claim that families are being attacked and dragged out of their homes. Homan, with the patience of a man who spent decades dealing with actual threats, calmly clarifies, we've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line. Translation, ICE isn't snatching toddlers from sandboxes. They're targeting criminals, gang members, and individuals on the terror watch list. Facts corroborated by ICE's own 2023 enforcement report, which notes that 87% of those arrested had prior convictions for assault, drug trafficking, or sexual offenses. But sure, Selena, keep crying about attacks while ignoring the 600% spike in sex trafficking and 250,000 American lives lost to fentanyl. Stats Homan rightly hammered home. Then there's Homan's knockout punch. If they don't like it, go to Congress, change the law. Mic drop. While Gomez whines about empathy, Homan points out the glaring truth. Laws exist for a reason. The Trump administration's border policies, which Homan helped execute, reduced illegal crossings by 74% in targeted sectors per DHS data. Meanwhile, Gomez's idea of activism is posting tearful selfies instead of, say, lobbying for the bipartisan border bill she claims to care about. Homan's focus? We're going to make our community safer. We're going to save lives. No hashtags, no virtue signaling, just results. Now let's talk about optics versus outcomes. Gomez's video, framed with a Mexican flag, implied some vague attack on her people. But Homan, unbothered by celebrity tantrums, lays out the stakes. We got over 2 million unknown gotaways, a record number of terrorists, fentanyl flooding our streets. According to the CDC, fentanyl overdoses are now the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45. But hey, why let dead citizens ruin a good Instagram story? Homan's response isn't just tough. It's rooted in a reality Gomez's bubble-wrapped worldview can't comprehend. And let's not skip Homan's crowning rebuttal. No apologies. We're moving forward. In an era where leaders grovel for woke points, Homan's unapologetic commitment to law and order is a breath of fresh air. He doesn't need a PR team to spin his message because when you're busy stopping child traffickers and seizing enough fentanyl to kill every American twice over, your work speaks for itself. So while Selena Gomez scrubs her feet of cringe, Tom Homan's still out here knocking down borders, saving lives, and reminding us that competence beats crocodile tears every time. The lesson, if you want to show empathy, try doing something instead of filming it for mass consumption on the internet. Now, all that being said, let's talk about something that happened in Dallas, Texas just a couple of days ago. Videos surfaced of a protest against deportations with people proudly waving the Mexican flag. The irony is impossible to ignore here. A mob, whether made up of Americans, immigrants, or foreigners, surrounds a Trump supporter, tears down his American flag so they can protest against living in America? I don't understand. The symbolism here is truly glaring. First, you're in America, demanding better living conditions, safety, and opportunities. Fair enough, but you're waving a flag of a country you chose to leave. The same place you claim didn't provide those things. If that flag represents your pride and identity, then why aren't you still living under it? You can't have it both ways, rejecting your home country's failures while simultaneously flaunting its flag as if it's the pinnacle of freedom and opportunity. Then there's the ultimate hypocrisy, attacking someone for carrying the American flag, the very symbol of the nation, providing you the opportunities you're fighting to stay for. Without that flag, you wouldn't even have the platform to protest. Tearing it down doesn't just insult the country, it exposes the hypocrisy of wanting all the benefits America offers while simultaneously rejecting its symbols, laws, principles, values, everything. Now here's the bottom line. You can't demand the rights and freedoms of America while refusing to respect what America stands for. If you're truly fighting for a better future, maybe start by understanding the very country that gives you that chance instead of attacking the people who represent it. Watching all of this unfold, you have to wonder, what kind of country are we becoming? Are we a nation driven by emotional outbursts and performative outrage, or one that values accountability and action? When people demand the benefits of America while rejecting its laws and symbols, what does that say about us? And what about leadership? Do we want officials who pander for applause or ones who unapologetically get the job done, even when it's unpopular? These aren't just political questions. They're questions about the future of our culture, our identity, and our values. So I'll leave you with this. Are we going to keep letting theatrics dominate the conversation, or are we ready to demand something better? The choice is ours. And you tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day.